G'day legends, welcome back. So today I'm going to do a comparison video. Good old tub and canopy versus train canopy. See, this is funny thing. Pinnacle's fire tower. Might seem a bit overkill. Masterpiece. Like I said, we're out in the bush today to do a bit of a comparison video on the tub and canopy versus train canopy. One question that I get asked about bloody often, ridiculous, I've been asked so many times, is literally, hey Az, how do you rate your canopy? I'm not sure if people are talking about just the canopy itself or my tub and canopy setup, but I always end up in a bit of a spin going through all my pros and cons about the tub and canopy, and then they end up saying no, just the canopy. But so I've thought I'll come out here and do some sort of comparison with pros and cons of both, the cost to set either one of them up, yeah, and at the end, what do I think is the better option? So let's go through it. So the canopy that I have on my car is an Aero Class canopy. When I got it, it cost me $3,200 plus installation. I'm not sure what that was, as it was so long ago, and as things have progressed, things have changed. I haven't really kept track of those sorts of things because it's better not to know in the long run. It makes you feel better about yourself. But why did I put this canopy on my car to start with? Well, I just loved the look of it. I saw, before I got my car, I was noticing a few Black Rangers around town, same canopy, and that was for me my only option that I wanted to go with. So yeah, that's why I've chosen the Aero Class canopy. So let's start with the back of the canopy. The majority of the access in the tub and canopy is through the back, which works but doesn't work, if that makes sense. First of all, you got literally 500 or 600 mil of tailgate to get past to get into your canopy setup, which in my opinion isn't a great setup. I am used to it, and I've just dealt with it over the last 4 years. So a lot of the access with this, like I said, is all through the back. So I've just thrown a few things in the car as if I was going camping, just to give you some examples of what it's like, you know, camping with a tub and canopy. So first of all, when you do open the tailgate, I've set up my drawers in the canopy. I've pushed them all the way to the headboard essentially of the tub and shifted them over to one side as far as possible to house a dual battery setup. So the reason that I've pushed everything to the back is I've played around with it so often to try and maximize the space in the back of the tub and make it easier. And I found that pushing it all the way to the front allowed me to get a bit of extra space, and I can throw my chainsaw in the back here, shift it over. I can pile up some firewood behind here, makes it easier to access as well, instead of throwing it all up on the roof. But the biggest thing that you'll find is when you do pull up at camp, you open up the tailgate, you have to keep removing stuff before you even get to your fridge slide. In this case, mine's on the Titan drawers. I don't run a drop slide or anything because I'm trying to save on weight, and a drop slide is anywhere from 40 to 50 kilos roughly, so I don't want to add that in, although it'll get my fridge lower. So one of the big problems I find there is me having to get into the fridge itself. I'm just your average height dude, not that tall, so when I'm trying to get into the fridge, I'm almost going in blind. You never know what you're going to pull out, so which isn't that ideal. Don't get me wrong, you can set up a tub and canopy bloody awesome. but it's still an issue for access and storage, which I'll go through. One of the biggest problems with having a tub and canopy set up like this in the drawers like mine is stuff getting behind. Generally where I keep my my recovery gear is behind my fridge. So if something's not secured in the bag properly, it can fall out. And one of the worst things that I've found with the tub and canopy setup is the access through the windows isn't that great. And if something does happen to fall out behind the fridge into the drops, into the slide itself, you won't be able to shut the fridge slide at all until you have to climb in through the back, because the access on the sides isn't that great because the windows are so small. Like I said, with the windows, they are quite small and quite high on a tub and canopy setup. So for me, where I keep all my compressor gear, I have to remove or just move my stove out of the way so I can actually access my hose and all my compressor stuff, and a few tools that I keep, my rattle gun in case I have to take the wheel off. One thing that I do see a lot about is about canopies on a tub. Is it sealed? Yes, to a degree, but no, it isn't. The tub itself is not sealed. You can buy these tailgate seals that stick on there, but what happens with them is they actually wear out. Mine has. I haven't done anything about it because it's just there, but as you can see under my drawers here, it's bloody dusty, and there is some water that travels through, especially when I'm washing my windows with the pressure washer, that gets in, and you can see where it dribbles in through the side. So which for a tub and canopy, yeah, it's not ideal. You do want everything to stay dust free and water free, but in that regard it's a big con for me. It's not 100% sealed and watertight. Just something else to think about when you're setting up your car. Like I've mentioned as well, with the slide, everything is so far away in a tub as far as I'm concerned. Another thing that I see people doing a lot now with their canopy setups, like mine, is using the side window for all their 12-volt access, for all their switches, fuses, you know, battery monitoring systems and everything like that. That is an awesome way to utilize that window if you don't really use it that often. But one thing I do find with those sorts of setups is you eliminate access to more than a quarter, because you don't have that access into the front behind the fridge. I've just learned to deal with my setup how it is, and I avoid putting anything at the back of the fridge if I can, just so I don't have to reach in. I try to get everything in a place, like I throw my chair right in the back corner where I still have to reach in and pull it out. It's too big to go through the window. So there's another thing you need to think about. For me, as this build progresses and the stages that everyone goes through, you know, it's all about access and simplicity. And the tub and canopy setup simply doesn't have that access and storage capacity. It's all about having those extra options, you know. If you take a couple more people in your car, like on a weekend trip, you got more space to throw their gear in as well, extra bags. These are all just things to consider when you're setting up your car, like if you're going a dual cab ute like this. So in regards to price on these sorts of setups, there's still a lot of things, you know. A drawer setup can cost you $3 grand, can cost you $5 grand, depending on who makes it, what products you use, if it's aluminium, if it's a custom aluminium setup. There's so many different options. You can have the fridge on a lower slide with a table that comes out, so you can utilize that space under the fridge, but then you're losing space for extra things like tools and CVs in my case, which, you know, in one of these drawers. It's literally dedicated to tools, CVs, you know, just that sort of stuff. Bits, relays, electrical gear. And then on the other side in the drawer, I've set it up for cooking, and to be honest with you, there's still not that much space with how I camp. I have to take a whole nother tub, and I've eliminated my back seats to carry 2 extra tubs for extra storage. In my opinion, the tub and canopy setup just doesn't have that accessible storage and usable space. So I know it's not the most pretty looking tub and canopy setup. You know, I've kind of just learned to live with how it looks, and all I want from now is for it just to work. And it works, but it's time to move on and progress to the next stage. So hopefully a look into my tub and canopy setup has helped you make some sort of decision on what way you want to go with your build and the setup process of it. So now I've shown you through my tub and canopy. I'm going to go whip down to Mitts Alloy in Newcastle here, grab Timmy's Hilux, and yeah, I'll show you what a well set up train canopy looks like. Rightio, so let's move on to the tray and canopy. First of all, look at the size of this thing. You know, we've got a 1800 long tray with a 1600 long box on the back of it, which straight away you're gaining extra length and extra width. With this instantly, you're gaining so many more litres of space. It's that simple. You don't have the thickness of the wall of a tub. You've literally got the thickness of the door itself, which is probably 50 or 60 mil at most. Then you've got instant access to this big open door, not this tiny little window, which in my opinion is a way better use of space, and you can actually reach in the whole way where you're not reaching in through the back. So in my opinion, straight away, it's a better option. Straight away you can also see Tim's option for this one with his clear view drop side, which is nice and easy access. You know. And then at the same time next to it, we've got a massive drawer and a table set up, which that pulls out as well. So straight away you've got real quick, easy workspace and access to your fridge, and the fridge, you can actually look into it. Whereas on my tub and canopy, I'm kind of guessing what I'm pulling out. Lucky I know what a can feels like. So we'll move over onto the driver's side. On this side of the canopy, it's literally just open. So this is for your big stuff. You know, you can store firewood, your chainsaw, extra fuel if you're towing a boat, bigger chairs. These chairs work really good for camping. I've got an Austrail one that's a big square size, so it'll fit a lot easier than it does into the canopy. But over here, this side can be whatever. Even if you were a tradie and you wanted to work out of here, you can stack up all your tools and then take them out on the weekend and go adventuring. So there's a lot of endless possibilities and a lot of good storage options in the canopies. So I know I've banged on a lot about space and storage and access, because realistically with a tub and canopy setup, the access is just hopeless as far as I'm concerned. Like the tub and canopy itself, I love. It looks bloody awesome, and I've loved that ever since I put it on there. That's why I got it. That's where the tray and canopy comes into play. You know, it's two massive doors, one either side, and your access is there all the way to halfway into the canopy, which in my opinion shits all over a tub and canopy setup. And then just the options of the under tray toolboxes, the trundle drawer, you know, that's a lot of wasted space in a canopy. The only thing you keep under a canopy is a tyre, and if it's too big, like if you're running 35, some cars, you know, you simply can't put it under there. You got to put it on the roof, or I've seen them on the back seats. So I put a call out on Instagram during the week and said, I want to know your experiences with a tray and canopy as well as a tub and canopy, pros and cons. So I'll just read you a few comments that I got. Here's one. I'll go through a few cons. The only con I can think of is if you're in a tight park at the shops and need to open up the side doors. Yeah, that's fair. That is good, because in a lot of big shopping centres, underground ones, you know, sometimes with a rooftop tent on there, can be too high as well getting into them. But you see the big concrete columns that are holding up each floor. If you park up next to one of those, there's no chance of getting the door open, which is a fair call, but you can also just park somewhere else. Another pro, more room. I keep banging on about it. There is a lot more room. Although a con with that, the downside of more room is you take more crap. With camping and touring, you only need to take what you need to take. When I go away, it's just me and Beck. Usually in my car, me and one other person. So it's 2 of everything. 2 sleeping bags, 2 pillows, 2 knives and forks, 2 cups, you know. Over the years, I've cut down on everything that I need to take, even clothes, because you end up wearing the same clothes for the whole weekend anyway if you're going away. So there's another thing. I did get a lot of responses saying tubs and canopies look way better IMO, in my opinion. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I do love the look of a well set up tub and canopy, but you got to look at this. It's pretty bloody awesome. Another response that I got a fair bit of was I had a tub and canopy, but the canopy leaked like a sieve, which is a fair call. These canopies are all watertight and dust tight, which is a big bonus, you know. Here we go, here's a good pro and a con. I'll talk about the con in a second. Versatile, because you can do more with it, which is true. You can set it up, especially a canopy like this. It's got this special channel, and everything just bolts into the channel, so everything can be removed and put back in. And the only con I can think of is the weight and the dollars. This is a very good point. So something like this tray and canopy setup could be anywhere from, depending on the company, say 12 grand to 30 grand or more. That could be just the tray and canopy. And then you've got to think about your fridge slide. There's 2 grand, 2.5 grand, depending on what fridge you use. You can spend $1,500 to $10,000 on a 12 volt battery system, which, yes, if you do the math, if you spend the top of the line canopy, tray and canopy, could be 30 grand plus another 20 grand, 10 to 20 grand on accessories. So that's another thing that you have to think about. But as I said, I think this whole setup here is around, just as an empty package with no fridge or fridge slide, I think it's about anywhere from $15,000 to $17,000. I could be wrong, but what I'll do for this particular setup, I'll leave a link in the description to the MITS Alloy social medias and website, and you can get in contact with them if you want a quote. And then, like Chaz said, weight. So weight on the tray and canopy is quite comparable. If you use steel for your tray and canopy, it's going to be heavier, but I don't think it's going to be that much heavier, because with alloy, they use a thicker gauge alloy. So the weights, and I know this because of my trailer and my tradie trailer, it's the same thing. The weights are comparable. But this setup here, the boys at MITS have told me this setup here, about 500 kilos with the fridge and the fridge slide, which is pretty good. You can get alloy drop slides and tilt slides, which of course you're going to save a lot of weight. Then if you went a different option with a upright fridge, you're going to save 40 to to 50 kilos on an actual drop slide itself. So there are ways to compromise and get your weight down and you use it in a more efficient way. Yeah, whereas a tub and canopy setup empty, I think on my Ranger would easily weigh, as it is, 450 kilos. So the weight that you actually save in a tub and canopy, in the big scheme of things, it might be anywhere from 50 to 100 kilos, which I don't think is a big deal. This is another good one. Because you can get these in a chassis mount, straight chassis mount, or the lift-off canopy, which this one is. Would prefer a lift-on, lift-off canopy to save weight when not needed. The beauty of a jack-off canopy is you can actually use your ute as a ute. I think it takes about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to take this off the tray itself, and you've got your ute back. You know, you can throw your dirt bike up there, furniture, or whatever you have to do. So you've got the option of being able to use it as a ute and not just a full-time touring setup. Well, there you go, legends. Hopefully this video helps you to choose between the tub and canopy or a train canopy setup when you get out there looking around to purchase your next four-wheel drive. I think it's fair to say that the train canopy setup is a better option. I think so, in my opinion anyway. And from what the poll on Instagram said, yeah, the train canopy is going to be the way to go. So I'd love to know what you think. What are your experiences with a tub and canopy? How much have you spent setting up a tub and canopy? We can only imagine how much people are spending on a train canopy setup. I personally know some people that have spent a shit ton of cash on it. But at the same time, if you set it up properly the first time, it's going to be well worth the money spent. And another thing to think about is you can take the canopy with you, if you set it up right, onto the next build that you want to do. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know down below. And what I'll also do is I'll link Mitt's alloy in the description below as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helps you out to make your decision on your next car. But yeah, hope to see you on the tracks. Don't forget to like and subscribe.